TCG that's very similar to Magic the Gathering. Unlike a lot of the other digital card games, it does a lot of things that I really like seeing. One of the great things about Hex is that it uses the digital design space in a lot of ways to reduce variance. So this resource here that I'm about to play has a mechanic called Fate Weave on it. So when I play this resource, I basically get to stack the top card of my deck. So I get to choose resource or non-resource and choose that type of card to reside on top of my deck. My hand has plenty of resources in it, so I get to stack that on top. One of the big differences Hex has from games like Magic, and this is a little bit similar to Hearthstone, but in a good way. You can see here my opponent and I each have a portrait and different starting health totals. So the portraits kind of give you added information before the game starts, so you can make informed mulliganing decisions when you're playing interactive decks before you've even seen what cards your opponent has in their deck. So the champions also give you a way to reduce some of the variance from flooding. So my champion has what's called a charge power, and it says every time I accumulate 4 charges, I can illuminate 1. And what illuminating 1 does, it either makes me a new 1/1 candle, or it takes all of the candles that I already have in play and turns them into 1/1 larger. My opponent's champion is generally a more aggressive champion. For 4 charges, it gives one of their troops +3/+3 and crush until end of the turn. If you're someone like me that doesn't like the CCG grind as well, Hex has a full buy, sell, trade secondary market in it as well. So there's that, my banner ad in the corner for Hex here has Hex Primal in it. Hex Primal is like the MTGO traders or Star City games of Hex. You can just fill a shopping cart and hit checkout on their website and get all of your cards for Hex. There's no buying booster packs and dusting your cards and destroying your cards for 25% value. So if you buy a deck and you don't like it, you can sell it and build another deck for better than 25% value. If you buy into Hex and you decide you need a break or it's not for you, you can sell your cards back out for actual cash. The money's not just gone. The attacking and blocking in Hex is identical to Magic. Attacking player declares blockers, blocking players declares blockers. So my Runic Candescence here, you can see when I played that off, when I played this card, it went off to the side there, and it has a mechanic called Runic, so when you play it, it goes off to the side as a kind of a stasis state, and then the next time I draw a resource, I get to replay it for free. I'm gonna go ahead and put a non-resource on top of my deck. I'm gonna go ahead and play Scion of Lyvaanth here. This is a very powerful card. It's a 2/2 for 3. That says whenever I play a non-resource card, I get to illuminate 1. I do have new budget decks with states. How much do Hex decks cost? That's a great question. So the average cost of a tier 1 competitive Hex deck usually ranges somewhere between $50 and $150 to buy outright if you have no money into the game. That being said, the competitive ladder on Hex is completely free to play, so you can build a reasonable competitive budget deck for as little as like 15 bucks if you don't want to grind it all, and then earn prizes and build up your collection by playing the ladder and earning limited entry and playing limited. Hex is also completely free to play if you want it to be. They give you a bunch of cards just to start with. If you're someone who's a big competitive player like I am, Hex has a great competitive scene as well. Every single weekend they have 2 $1,000 cash tournaments that are open entry. The constructed cash tournament on Saturday, you just need a standard legal deck for, and it costs $7 to enter. And the sealed tournament on Sundays costs $15 to enter, but that includes the 6 packs that you need to play the tournament. So they killed my Scion, but I'm a professional and drew another one here. So I'm going to go ahead and play Light the Votives, which lets me illuminate and make a candle. And then Light the Votives makes me 1 candle, and then it escalates. So the next time I draw Light the Votives, it's going to make 2 candles. I'm going to go ahead and stack a non-resource on top of my deck. Again, just have plenty of resources at this point, so I want to just keep drawing action. So the Fate Weave mechanic, very powerful, reduces some of that variance that you have in a game where you have resources in your deck where you draw too many or too few resources in the mid to late game. I'm going to hit my champion power here and put 1 more candle in play. Usually I like to make 4 candles before I start pumping them up with the illuminate effect, so next turn I'll probably start using my Scion to make my candles larger. Liberated Berserker. So Momentum and a 1/1 with Deathcry. So Momentum says whenever they play a resource, this gets a power boost, and then the momentum increases by 1, so the boost gets bigger every turn. How difficult and self-sustaining and limited, like in Hearthstone, you need to go 7/3 or better. So because there's a secondary market in Hex, some of how good you're able to do in limited consistently will depend on some of the cards you open. So like when a set is newer, for instance, when a set is newer, there's cards, there's like chase mythics and rares that are more valuable, so it's easier to go infinite in the early. Just based on pure win rate, I'm not sure offhand. I don't play a ton of limited. So my opponent played a card called Communion and Wax, and this says you put a troop from your hand that costs 5 or less into play, and it gives it the customizable powers of this, and they've chosen to put double damage on this. So this card has double damage on it, and they use their champion power to give it +3/+3. So this is a 5/5 with crush and speed, and it's going to deal double damage. So I'm just going to take this hit because I don't want to throw away any of my candles, and I don't want to throw away my Scion. Wow, okay, so we're going to kill our opponent. So this is the sweet, like, kind of combo-ish finish that this aggressive deck I'm playing has. So I play this, which triggers my Scion to illuminate 1, and then Drop of Wax lets me illuminate 1. And you'll see here one of the really cute things Hex does. Whenever you illuminate and the candles get more powerful, their art gets bigger. Then Choir of Lumos triggers Scion, which makes my candles bigger. And then this illuminates 3, so all of my candles get +3/+3. And then I can play the Shardcall for funsies and illuminate them again. So I've got a bunch of 8/8 candles. All right, so what are we doing here? My opponent's playing like a Ruby Wild aggressive deck with Communion and Wax. Return to Cinder seems like it's going to be pretty good. They've got Righteous Outlaw in their deck and Cackler. I'm going to trim. This matchup probably doesn't come down to blocking, so I'm going to trim these Wings of Wax, actually. Do I want this Arcing Light? So Arcing Light reverts up to 3 target cards, and what revert does is it wipes all positive modifiers off of it. So it can wipe power-ups from my opponent's champion power away. If my opponent had candles that got bigger, it could make their candles smaller. I think some Arcing Lights are going to be good. I guess this wipes away the bonus. It wipes away the bonus that the Communion and Wax puts on the troop as well. So I'm going to board in 2 of those, I think, and trim these. So again, revert says basically take this card and put it back to its base state before it's been modified by anything. If you're interested in learning a little bit more about Hex, I have an article here called How to Hex that kind of explains some of the key differences between Hex and Magic and kind of gives an overview of the events that you can play in Hex. There's events that have normal, like basically cash entry fee with the in-game currency, but there's also a number of events that are completely free to enter. So if you have a deck to play with, you could just enter and play those at no cost. This hand needs a diamond, but I have this Ruby Ice, so I get to Fate Weave a resource guaranteed, so I'm pretty likely to hit a diamond. Is there a tempo style? So Hex, their standard format just rotated about a week ago, so we're still kind of figuring out all the details of which decks are good, bad, or otherwise. I think this Candle deck that I'm playing is pretty good, and there's another mid-range ramp deck that I think I'm pretty convinced is solid, but we're still kind of figuring out the current format. In Hex's non-rotating Immortal format, there's it's called Rocket Rabbit, that is a competitive tempo deck like Delver. I'm gonna get my Acolyte of Flame down here. Another thing you'll notice here is that unlike a lot of the digital games where their competitive ladder is best of 1, you'll notice after we finished that first game, we went to what we call reserving. It's just like sideboarding, and we get to swap cards out and then play a second. So the ladder matches are best of 3, which for someone like myself who's interested in like playing a slightly lower variance game, who gives the better player a chance to win. If you get flooded or screwed a little bit, you get a chance to make that up. So that is ideal. In my opinion, that's ideal. I also keep a list of budget Hex decks here. So there's a budget version of this Candles deck that costs a whopping $15 to build outright if you don't have any Hex cards. Also, because you can buy, sell, and trade in this game, there's a lot of more experienced players that just like have a lot of cards and oftentimes are willing to give people cards. Like, you know, it's like when you're playing Magic, right? And you just have like a bunch of extra draft leavings. So people have draft leavings in Hex and you can't dust them. So a lot of the times if you're a new player and you go and ask in in-game chat, hey, does someone have these commons and uncommons? A lot of the times you'll find people that will give them to you. If you go post on the Hex forums or the Hex subreddit, say, hey, I'm a new player, I'm looking to pick up these cards so I can play the Rock format or get involved in Standard. A lot of times people will hook you up. So Choir of Lumos here, this is the one that we played it for free last game because it illuminates 3. So you can see this card starts out costing 7, and every time you illuminate, it gets -1 cost in all zones. So every time I illuminate, it's going to get cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. There's welcoming and polite Magic players in Magic too. Just, you know, every community has their winners and their losers. All right, I'm going to go ahead and play Waxed on here, which makes me 2 candles. And this illuminates, so these Choir of Lumos are going to get cheaper. I wonder if they have a Crackling Magma. That would be really bad for me. Crackling Magma deals 1 damage to each opposing troop. They have a Crackling Magma, we're about to get blown out here. Sweet, they don't. So I'm actually gonna put a resource on top of my deck here, because if I hit a resource, I'll be able to activate my champion power next turn, which lets me illuminate 1. I'm gonna go ahead and attack here with these, I think. Just crack them for 8. And then this Wrath of the Elementals. So Hex also has a stack or a chain where you get to respond to things. So this is a quick action, so I can use this to respond to cards on my opponent's turn. It voids a card that has cost equal to or less than the number of elementals I control, so I can use this to void anything that costs 4 or less right now, since I have 4 candles. If they have a Dreamweaver Ancient or a 5 or 6 drop troop with speed, I could be in trouble, but if they have something that costs 4 or less, we should be pretty insulated. And then next turn, we're going to get to illuminate off my champion power to make these 3/3s, and then Choir of Lumos to make them 6/6s. Boltwing, sure. So I'm going to go ahead and just Wrath of the Elementals here. Just void your thing. And they should be dead to me illuminating a bunch here. I'm actually going to be able to play both of these, right? So my champion power illuminates once to make these cheaper. No, I want to make them 1/1. So that goes to 3. And then when this one illuminates, it's going to make this one cost 2. So give 3/3. Give 3/3. Yeah, buddy. Candle smash. So I mentioned the ladder's free to play on here. You'll see I'm currently rank 11 on their constructed ladder leaderboard here. And how the ladder works is you collect prizes while you rank up the ladder, and the ladder seasons reset every 2 months. And then at the end of every 2-month ladder season, the top 64 players on the limited ladder and the constructed ladder get an invite to a 128-player $5,000 cash tournament that has no entry fee. So it's pretty sweet. Played in a couple of those. I've top 8'd 2 of their 5Ks, and I've top 8'd a couple of their open entry 1Ks. Wait for the next match to pop here. Get my legacy video uploading. Hope everyone's having a great Thursday. Happy Thanksgiving to everyone in the US. Gobble, gobble. I know you're not here for the TCGs. You're here for the turkey noises. Definitely 10 out of 10 here for the turkey noises, right? Is there a vintage-like format in Hex? So Hex has, in addition to Standard, there's a non-rotating format called Immortal. Immortal has a championship tournament every other month that you collect tickets for playing in the Immortal queue. And then there are Immortal weekly events that happen 1 day per week. There's 1 day per week where 2 Immortal weekly events happen. That seems pretty good. We got a couple of Flame Barrages here. It looks like we're probably playing a mirror match here. Opponent's playing Cassia. I guess there's also Cassia. There's a Cassia control deck too. If the Immortal Q's not giving those out, that's a bug, and you should report it. Does Hex have a viable mill deck? I think there are actually viable mill decks with this most recent set released. Mill's actually an archetype they've been pushing pretty hard for this format. And tomorrow, when we do my Friday morning Hex stream, I think we're actually going to kick off with a mill deck. Krail there asking. No, I think I'm just gonna we're gonna hit the mill archetype eventually. Don't worry. And so it's okay. We're gonna get there. That was not the stated intention on their forums, Shredder. So, for reference, I think that Noble was incorrect. So, make a candle. Still not sure we'll find out here if they play a second threshold with their diamond. Okay, so it is a diamond ruby candle mirror. Yep, they have Light the Votives. Like I said, the current standard format in Hex is still developing. We just had a rotation, so we're not quite sure which decks are great and which ones aren't. If they try to block here, we can Wax Dawn and blow them out. This lets me Illuminate 2 as a quick action. That being said, because they didn't block, I'm just going to go ahead and pass the turn here and Wax Dawn to make two more 1/1s. Again, I usually like to get about 4 candles in play before I start making my candles bigger. Wings of Wax is pretty good. So Wings of Wax illuminates 1 and then gives all their candles flight. So I'm basically just not going to be able to block their dudes unless I find my own Wings of Wax. Make some candles here. Choir of Lumos ticks down. Alright, well. I'm just going to go ahead and Flame Barrage this candle. I'm going to have to kill it at some point, and I'd prefer they didn't kill my own. I have another Flame Barrage too in case they find something else. Put a non-resource on top of my deck. Next turn, I'm going to be able to champ power with the charge from this to illuminate once, which will let me illuminate from this. So I'm going to give my candles +4/+4 next turn, so I'll have 20 power worth of candles. I can end step a Flame Barrage here to kill one of their blockers. It is Strong Dragon. Acolyte, sure. So being on the play was a pretty big leg up in this mirror. Aggressive mirrors can sometimes come down to that. Shoot another one of their candles. And we'll see how much removal they have in hand. Yeah, definitely. I think the budget candles list that I posted is a great choice for Rock. Make my candles bigger. Make my candles bigger. Yep, they have a Flame Barrage to kill one of my guys, but I'm gonna get 3/5/5s. You have another piece of removal. They could potentially look at him. You have the little wax fist there. It's the little details that make Hex great. No, I use a couple of the animated sleeves. In fact, I should probably put the Light the Votives sleeves on this deck. And for flavor purposes. See how big they can make their candles here. Yeah, candles is like the pretty obvious new one, right? Like Rock just rotated 2. So like this is the straightforward new powerful deck to build. Alright, so Arcing Light is fantastic in the mirror. It reverts up to 3 target cards, so again it can take their candles and make them smaller. I expect my opponent to also have Arcing Light post reserve, so I'm probably going to go a little bit wider than normal in order to play around that. Return to Cinder is pretty good. Not only can it kill candles when they're small, but taking Scion of Lyvaanth off the table is a must. Acolyte of Flame is kind of just like my go-to cut. It's just like this medium minus card that is like, eh. Wrath of the Elementals is okay. I think it's worse than Return to Cinder. That's not true. It gets rid of really big candles. What's my last cut here? Kind of Wax Dawn. It's a little expensive. Do that. You've been tested, Tom. We're not going to have a super long Hex portion today because I started Magic really early. Been going for almost 5 hours already. But we're going to play 3 or 4 matches with the Candles deck. And then tomorrow morning, Friday mornings, is all Hex all morning. As always. Yeah, seems pretty good. So This well resource here, this is a dual shard resource, but it only makes a threshold if I already have a threshold, which means if I play this on the first turn of the game, it's not going to make anything for me, so I don't want to do that. Play this Wax Sacrament, and then play Light the Votives here, make a 1/1. The Wax Sacrament that makes drop of wax is also a rare resource. If you look here, I have a budget hex deck list version of this that it's a $15 version of the deck without some of the rares in it, and then it lists the rares that you want to slowly build into. All right, so I think I just want to start killing my opponent's board here. I guess I could get rid of this. Nah, I really don't care about that, right? So I'm going to return the Cinder, this Storko, and then play this Drop of Wax for another 1/1. Basically, I just want to use my 1-cost removal to stay ahead. Yeah, every season so far there's been competitive control decks, and there's been competitive combo decks most seasons too. I don't think every season has had a competitive combo deck in Standard, but Immortal definitely has competitive combo decks. I guess there's a Reanimator deck still this season, but I'm not sure how well positioned that is after the rotation. No blocks here. That's pretty good for us. Arcing Light's a good draw too. So I'm going to play this Shardcall, which makes me a resource. Grab that, play it. I think I'm going to go ahead and Wrath of the Elementals this, and again, just keep beating down, just like pressing my advantage. Massacre is very well positioned, I agree. Fair. Just like dick punching each other's candles here. If you revert a rune, if it's a troop, it'll be in play. If it's an action, it'll just get voided. So we have a Flame Barrage for the Scion, thankfully. Alright, and they have a Flame Barrage for my Candle, which lets them illuminate off their Scion, which is very good for them. This is a way they can pull out ahead here a little bit. Depends on what the quality of their 2 cards left here is. Taking another candle. So they've got 2 candles to our none at this point. But they've also had one more turn than us. We're going to get to Wings of Wax next turn, but that's not particularly impressive at this point. So this deploys, makes a 1/1. Which also takes the Choir of Lumos down, which is not irrelevant. If we hit another Shard next turn, I can go Choir of Lumos for 3 dorks and then Champ Power, make them 2/2s, which is pretty good. The last season, the best 3 decks in the format probably made up approximately half the format, and so yeah, so the 3 best decks made up what's the best word? The 3 best decks made up 50% of the format, and the bottom of it were like fringe decks after that. And one of the things that's great about Hex, and this is something I love as a data junkie, Hex publishes every single competitive match of Hex played. You can see it, they hide nothing. You can go here, and when there's those $1,000 cash tournaments that I mentioned happen on the weekends, you can see every deck that every single player played in that competitive cash tournament, and you can see every single deck that every single player played against in that cash tournament. You can see, whoa, they put Scion of Lyvaanth in their deck. Well then, huh. That's pretty good in the mirror, especially when I've already burned all my removal. Alright, I think I'm just taking 10 here. Yeah, I'm just gonna take 10 here. Guidance. Would love another Choir of Lumos to kill my opponent. Arcing Light, not so good. Do this, I guess. No, I think I just plan to slam with candles for a little bit of mortals, then I gotta go eat lunch. Need to help Christy with the kid. Maybe we'll play one more. Maybe we'll play some candles and something else. I don't know. I guess I could play some control if Mono Blood built. So, Arcing Light lets me revert both of these. Oh, I should have blocked first, right? I should have moved to blocked before this gives them a chance to play a removal spell and kill me. I've been playing Hex consistently for almost 2 years now. And the Hex designers have consistently impressed me with the depth of the designs of the cards that they have in their game. Choir of Lumos for the win, one time. That's what a tilt. This costs 5, so we're 1 short. Tilt. Again, again, you said the rise and falls of a lot of decent things. So they've pumped out. They've surpassed most of the digital TCGs in terms of longevity already, right? Like, they've put out this most recent set that they released is their 8th set. They've had 2 sets rotate out of their standard format. They've been releasing sets pretty consistently every 4.5 to 5 months. Like, I've been pretty happy with how Hex has been managing their resources so far. 3 Arcing Lights might be too many. Maybe I should have boarded out the 3rd one to put the Wax Dawn back in. I said they've had 2 rotations, not 2 sets rotate out. Alright, let's be aggressive here on the play. Wax Sacrament. This makes a drop of wax to make a candle. Let me get to Runic Candescence on 2. Hopefully, being on the play will be our saving grace here. The Lyvaanth Dragon is pretty good technology. It seems pretty good in some of these matchups. One of the things I really appreciate about the Hex team is they're both not afraid to try interesting things, and they're not afraid to say, hey, we fucked up, this card is too good, we're gonna ban it. So they've had 2 Hex's standard formats consistently feel to me like a middle ground between Magic standard format and Modern in terms of power level. A lot of the decks that are really good in Hex's standard format are doing really objectively powerful things. But at the same time, they're not doing so powerful things that like people are dying on like the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th turn of the game. It's a high power level format while also giving you a lot of room to be interactive. Yep. They've banned 2 cards lifetime in Hex, so unlike other digital digital card games, they don't change the text box on cards, because just because something's too good for standard doesn't necessarily mean it's too good for Immortal or PvE or casual. If we hit something that can illuminate next turn, we should be pretty good to get rolling here. Yeah, Light the Votives is not amazing. I concur there. I think I'm just passing here. I really don't want to offer these as trades when next turn I'm going to give my candles +4/+4. So I'm going to illuminate off of here and illuminate off of here. Yeah, there's a couple of multi-card combo decks. There's a Reanimator deck that's probably still reasonably competitive. There aren't any Storm-esque combo decks that we've found so far, but it took us a little while to find Turbo PA last season. No blocks, Tron. I have no idea. Personally, I have nothing vested in drafting, so I'm not really the person that asks. How long is the season? The latter seasons are 2 months long. I also don't play limited, so like that's not relevant to me. So now we illuminate off of this and give them 1/1, which makes my Choir cheaper, which gives them 3/3s. So we're gonna have 6 5/5s here. right. And again, the candle art representative of what's about to happen. Just like hand to the fist. Let's go. They could like double block and like, yeah, I like just going to 5 here, play to win. Could they kill us on the backswing here? If they have like 2 Choirs, they might be able to kill us on the backswing. Scion's pretty good. They could make, nah. If Shardcall, okay. Shardcall is gonna trigger their, man, are they gonna outgrow us? Their candles might outgrow us in the back of the Scion, because they get to illuminate and then illuminate here. If they have another 1-cost thing in their hand, they're gonna get, oh, they're only gonna get to 4/4s if they have another 1-cost thing. They probably have another 1-cost thing though. I guess their 4/4s almost trade 1-for-1 with mine. I think we're still gonna have the leg up here. I think they're just a touch too slow. Again, being on the play was a bit of a leg up here. Alright, Guidance. This is a cantrip that Fate Weaves and then draws a card. So again, Fate Weave lets me choose resource or non-resource, so I'm going to guarantee draw a non-resource here. Arcing Light. Pretty good. Pretty good. If they were able to catch up to our candles, we would have been able to blow them out. Alright, let's play a game.